All right, welcome. I appreciate you guys so much for showing up. When you guys do. Right now, we have Clyde Heppner on the show. I am so elated to have him here. He is the best-selling Amazon journal creator for loan signing agents called the Integrity Journal. If you guys don't know who I am Ty, the Abnormal Notary. If you are not following me on Instagram, please do so. Anywhere you put the Abnormal Notary, you should be able to find me. All right. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to Clyde Heppner. He's going to give you some background of who he is, and then we'll do what we do. All right. Clyde, welcome. How are you? How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you.
Good. So I'm going to give you the stage. Let people know who you are, and then we'll get rocking.
Okay, sounds good, thanks. I'm Clyde Heppner, and just a little bit about me. I am a person who came out of corporate America, was there for a long time, and when I came out, I decided that I was done with that sort of life and bought a yoga studio and did that for about 4.5 years. And from that point forward, realized that I really love having my own small business. But what I really wanted to do was something that was more on my schedule. And so I had looked around, and I recalled at one point in time we had refinanced our home, and the person who had come out to our house, the notary, had talked about this program where you could be a notary and then do loan closings. And if I was ever interested, I should just give her a call. So I did. And we talked about it, and she gave me some background about how to move forward. And lo and behold, here I am today. So I'm a Missouri notary public. I do loan closings. I do notary work as well, and recently have gone into doing work online through Ron. So anyway, as a result of all of that, I also became the creator of the Integrity Notary Journal.
So let's talk about it. So I know for me, when I started, I didn't know what happened, right? People said, go get this type of journal, go to Amazon, or go to Notary Stand. But how did you come up with the integrity journal? Like were you at a table, a coding table or something? You're like, oh, there are certain things in this journal that missing that maybe could help another loan signing agent.
So, yeah, the short answer is it grew out of frustration. Like any product, it seems to be one of the starting points. So I was doing, I bought one of the journals, and I was using it and, marking my documents, and I was trying to take notes. And what I found out was that, so one, my penmanship, if you can call it that, is really bad. And so I write all over, and I'm trying to write in these names of these documents. I'm trying to note circumstances, like I needed to use a second ID as a backup, and all this information. And what I have is this little 1-inch square on the paper for notes. So that sort of led to the fact that I was writing in multiple entry lines and those kinds of things. And so I started to try out different journals. I went out and I did more research and what are people using, what gets good reviews. And I kept looking and searching, and I literally went through a stack of journals. And the other thing that happened about the same time as I was testing out different journals is I read Professor Claussen's notary book, so Notary Best Practices, and he talks about journaling. And so I decided that what I needed to do was to, be more focused about this. And then I was reading it, and he was talking about all these things that would be important to include, and there was just no way I was going to fit this within the existing parameters that most of the journals were giving. So I decided that I'm going to just give myself a try and see if I can actually do a layout and figure out what this might look like. And through that process, I started to test out different designs and iterated on that. And then I took it to some notaries and some people who do training for loan signing agents and got their feedback. And then as a result of all that, we went ahead and put it into a beta trial with notaries across the United States and took their feedback. And as a result, we now have what is the Integrity Notary Journal today.
So, Clyde, people are saying that there is static on my side. I'm in a different place. I literally removed myself from a different area. Are you guys still hearing static when I'm talking? Because I know that Clyde said he was hearing it on his end. You guys put it in the chat.
Yeah.
It's still there.
Yeah, I'm still getting it too.
Give me a second, guys. So this is how you know Clyde, this space is good when stuff starts happening like this. You know what I mean? Just give me a second.
Okay, all. So this is what we call the segment of the show where I actually tap dance. So hang in there. I'm assuming Ty will be back with us in just a moment. The other thing that I can recommend is, if you haven't checked out Michael Claussen's book on notary best practices, do give it a try. I believe it is sold through the NNA. I don't know of other places. That's where I bought my copy. He goes into quite a bit of detail on the entire notary, I'll call it the notary ceremony. So once you meet with somebody and that entire process. So it's a good resource book. So I use it as a reference. There's always, as we know, weird things that pop up. I did an appointment one time, and the person that I was sitting across gave me their ID, and when I looked at it, I was taking down the information and going along and writing it in my journal, and I flipped it over, and the entire back was blank, and I went, well, this is a little strange, and I double checked. I have a identity, for verifying identities, and okay.
Clyde, can you hear me now? Is there still static?
That's awesome.
That's better?
That's better.
Okay, so I moved to a completely different area.
All right.
So we're going to start this again. I appreciate every single one of you guys that are being patient. I'm trying to figure out the best way to do these streams in my house. I'm now in a different building. So thank you guys so much. Clyde, thank you for filling in. I think somebody had a funny. I think somebody said, what would you do? How would you handle this if this happened during Ron? What would you say? That's a good question.
It is a good question. If we can't hear them, what I've had them actually do, because we did have a camera go out one time, is we just had them back up. And lo and behold, it was enough to trigger the camera back on. Because in the system that I use, the camera actually, once you sort of verify and you check it, it doesn't give you controls to go back and adjust it. But we are just able to sort of back up. So I did have that with a camera. It's a bit scary because we all know that it's one of those requirements.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. All right, so we're going to start this again. I am thankful that we got this working. So again, Thank everybody that is here, that is watching. Clyde, thank you so much for coming on to the show. If you guys did not hear me in the beginning, we're going to start over and start again. Okay, so I'm the Abnormal Notary. My name is Ty. This is my show that I have every Sundays at 11 o'clock by the grace of God. And what I really want to do is just provide so much feedback, so much information for you guys that you're not yearning and hurting for information. Okay. With that being said, at the end of the show, Clyde has been so gracious to give some gifts away. So stick around to the end and it's going to be awesome. All right. So you're from Missouri. You were doing a lot of other things before you got into loan signing. You discussed the Integrity Journal. I hear a lot of people that say that the Integrity Journal has helped them so much with their logging. The question I have for you is, when you get to the table, when you're a loan signing agent, do you take out the journal immediately and then fill it out and then have them sign? Or do you wait to the end? Do you do it in the middle? What is your process of when you're doing your journaling?
Okay, so if I'm going to the table for a loan closing, what I do is, so I come in, I sit down with the documents. I have a cover sheet that actually outlines the basic steps that we're going to go through. And it has, specifically, we're going to check IDs. We're going to go ahead and do these next steps. And then it's got on there how the title and lender want them to sign their names. And each person on the table gets one of those, and it immediately sort of sets that tone. And then I ask for the IDs. We do the IDs first, so the journal is there. And I begin to verify that the IDs match the names that are on those documents. And then I begin to fill out the journal for their information. And then I have them put in their information. So the way I do it is, if you know the Integrity Journal, you know that it's got an upper and a lower page. I refer to this as vertical signing, as opposed to the normal journal, which is a horizontal, which you're sort of going directly from left to right. So I fill out my stuff on the top part for each signer. And then I just literally turn the journal around for them and slide it over. They put in their address, they sign their name, and it's their section. And then that's where they put their thumbprint. So then we continue on. And what I do is I administer an oath at the beginning and explain to them that there are going to be documents here today that they're going to sign as under oath. And then I administer the oath to each person. And then they initial in the journal that they received that oath. And then when we come to that document during the signing, I remind them that they are under oath when they're signing that document. Oh, you're muted, I think, Ty.
All the time. I do it all the time. All the time. Okay, so you said a lot of things, which I think is so paramount. So a lot of people have questions about, should I ask for a thumbprint? That's going to be the one question. The second question is, should I have to do an oath as a loan signing agent when I have them do the journal as a loan signing agent? So there's a couple of questions there. So I know not all states within the country requires thumbprints. I think California is one of them. I'm not sure who else is one of them. So walk me through that process. Do you ask everybody for a thumbprint? Is that necessary?
So in Missouri, we are not required, but we are not prohibited from taking a thumbprint either. So what I do is I say, I'm going to have you put your address here. I'm going to have you give your signature here as you would normally sign. And then we'll do a quick thumbprint. And people who say, oh, well, I've never done that before, I say, well, it's considered a best practice. And the reason I do that, again, is so being able to assure that I actually do have that person and they actually have left that thumbprint in my journal. If they totally object to it, which I've never had anybody yet, but if they totally press the issue, I would say, okay, fine. But I would then make a notation that they refuse to give a thumbprint.
Got you. So Matt, so this is what I kind of like to do, Clyde. Sometimes I like to wait to the end for questions, but if there's a question that actually interjects with our conversation, I'll pop it up on the screen. Okay, is that cool?
Perfect. That's perfect.
Okay, cool. All right, so this is from Matt Miller. What's up, Matt?
Hey.
Okay, so he says some states like Texas prohibit biometrics.
Yes. Yes. And I think this is one of those big things that is a larger thing to be aware of. And that is, we all come from different states, and we need to be the experts about our state requirements. You know, it's great to ask questions in forums, wherever that may be, but really we have to take the responsibility for knowing our state statutes and laws. And the reason I will say that is there are states in developing the journal that I assumed the journal would be compliant based on what's written in their statutes. However, the way in which the Secretary of State interprets that may be different than how we are expecting it to be. And so it's vital that we know those things and talk with, if there's a notary association for that state or the Secretary of State's office. So with all of that said, yes, Texas is one of those that prohibits it. And so, you know, of course, it's in the journal. And you would just, you know, literally do nothing, or you could just put an X in it or NA, whatever, if you wanted to be able to address the blank.
Okay. Yeah, because I know in Jersey, they don't require a thumbprint. But to your point, I don't think if you were asked, I don't think they would decline, right?
Right.
I don't. Yeah. So we actually had a question from a good notary. She mentioned that you said they enter the address. So are you validating that what they put against their ID is correct, or are you just going to just say, yep, what they put is good?
So we are in Missouri, we are putting where they are currently living, not the address on the ID. So, yeah, because it's the intent is that it is for contacting of them. So it is their most current address at the time.
Okay, so then that's going to bring up a question then. So when you're, okay, now I got to think about this. Because in New Jersey, I'll use New Jersey. When someone gives me a driver's license, I'm normally the one taking their license and literally putting in what their license is.
Yeah.
If you're stating in Missouri, you don't take their ID, you take what their, okay.
No, I take their ID at the beginning.
Okay.
And so I'm taking down, and one, I'm looking at the ID, looking at the picture, verifying that they meet the physical, you know, description. And then in Missouri, we write down their license number or the passport number, the expiration date, and then it would be the issuing department. So this would be like, you know, Missouri DMV or, you know, so that's all taken down, and I verify, I flip it over to make sure that there's, you know, the right information on the back. But then after that, once they've placed their signature, and I've compared the signature, then they give their ID back. But they're entering for them their own address. Okay.
All right. So hopefully that clarifies the question, a good notary. If it doesn't, please let me know, and we will circle back. Okay. So with the journaling, okay, so when you're doing loan signing, when you have the name, they want you to sign the name exactly as you see it, right? You have the journal. They literally sign, probably scribbly, right? Then you get to the loan signing documents. Well, I don't understand. You just told me to sign. That's what I just did in the journal. So why is it going to be different? You know what I mean? So how do you circumvent that? I think somebody had a question. I'm going to try to find it. When they have multiple signatures, do you stop it at that point and say, hey, this is how it needs to be? It needs to be legible. It can't be scribbly squab. Like, how do you know what I mean?
Okay. So when I first started, I was really adamant about you need to sign as indicated on, you know, by the lender, and sign it so that it would be legible. And I had so many people complaining that this is not my legal signature. And so I thought about it a lot. I also wrongly maybe, but I talked with some attorneys to just try to get a sense for, you know, how do they address this, and how do they look at it? And their comment to me was, that is their legal signature, and that's what I'm validating against the driver's license. So while the lender may have written out all of this, with the middle initial, however they're signing it, that's their legal signature. And that's what I've gone to. And the only thing, that caveat that I make to people is, if you're writing this very legibly, then please, if there's a middle initial there for you, include it, because it's most likely the lender will have a problem then. But it's the illegible ones that they just sign. I've never had one come back.
Can I be honest with you? Even the ones that have come back to me and said, "Oh, Ty, this is not my signature. It's fine. I'll deal with it whenever the documents go in." Okay.
Yeah.
Nothing's come back.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Okay.
Well, I don't know if you've dealt with individuals who have come from, who would be like foreign nationals, and some of their signatures are just these beautiful characters. And so why am I saying that that's not their valid signature? So.
Exactly. Right. And I'm not going to me, in the beginning, I used to, Clyde, I'll be honest with you, in the beginning, I'm like, no, the lender would like you to XYZ. It is not acceptable. Now I'm like, okay, listen, whatever you want.
Yes.
Eligible, make sure you put that initial in there. I'm good with that. As long as I see that initial, we're good.
Yes. Well, especially since, I've taken their government ID and I've compared that signature in the journal. So it feels, It
feels, exactly. We're on the same page. Same page. Okay, so a lot of people are coming in the room. Thank you guys so much. I'm going to tell y'all something too. I forgot it was saving, was it daylight savings time, Clyde?
Yeah, I think that's what
so we lost an hour. So so some of you guys, I apologize. I guess I should have told y'all. All right, let's get a couple more questions, Clyde, and then we'll go back to getting back into the show. Miss Jacqueline, good morning, Queen. She says, in Texas, we are not allowed to write down license numbers due to identity theft.
Yeah,
I did not know that.
When I first started in Missouri, we were not required to write down the, what referred to as the serial number or the ID number. And I never did. And again, I go back to Michael Claussen's book. He also talks about that as, unless your state mandates it, it's really not a good idea. But do put things in like, what is the expiration date of the identity ID card? Those kinds of things.
Okay, perfect. Jacqueline says, yes, as long as it matches their signature on their ID, that should be sufficient. I agree. Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's go back into it. So we talked about the integrity journal, right? And we talked about how that came about. I will tell you, I like the aesthetics of your journal, because typically it's going from left to right, where yours is going top to bottom. And I think that's pretty dope, because then you just have to just swirl it around.
Yes.
Yeah. It's pretty cool. Okay. So let's get into loan signing real quick.
Okay.
So talk to me about loan signing and what type of experiences. So for a newbie that's coming into the game, right, and they're trying to understand, okay, once I get my first loan signing, what is the expectation that I'm going to get? Can you tell people your first experience as a loan signing agent? I know you've been doing it for a while, as you told me.
No. I think the first one, at least for me, is memorable, just because it was it was, so a couple of things. I had just finished Bill Soroka's Sign and Thrive course. And one of the things that he had talked about was, try to avoid last minute signings. Try to get a signing where you've got, some time. You'll get the documents. You can spend time with the documents, as opposed to you're waiting for the documents and they come 15 minutes before the appointment, and now you're this newbie and you're trying to print them. And we all know how that goes with technology at that point in time. So I waited to, respond to closings that weren't last minute. I did get one. It was for a VA. So, there's that little bit of extra paper in there with some tricky forms, which when you have done it for a while isn't tricky anymore. But when it's the first one out, Yeah. So anyway,
Right.
I drove 60 miles, you know.
What? 60 miles?
Oh yeah, I drove 60 miles, and I met with this couple. They were an elderly couple. Thank God, they were very patient with me, you know. And I had practiced this so many times, you know, in terms of what my flow would be and how I would do this. And I sat down at the table, and some of it stuck, but a lot of it just went away. You know, it was just things weren't happening the way I thought they would happen. You know, the couple, they were signing it and passing papers, and the next thing I know, you know, the normal things, the papers are being mixed up and all that good stuff. The short of that one was I did miss a lovely signature on one of those, the 1003 at the time.
Yeah.
So, I ended up contacting them later that day as I was going through and checking my papers and trying to find a time that I could meet with them again to get those two signatures on the 1003. So I drove back another 60 miles and got those signatures. So it was a bit stressful, but it was also, there was an element of joy to it all because I had actually done it. I had taken that step and done it.
Yeah. So I think what a lot of people need to understand, like during the loan signing process, I think that you're going to have a lot of nerves. The only way that you're going to have to get over the nerves is just get out there and do it, right?
Yeah.
I also think that if you don't make a mistake, I don't know. I think making mistakes are good things. So let me go back to one thing. You were saying an acronym 1003.
Yes.
So I want people to know 1003 means the Uniform Residential Application. Okay. So typically there's 4 pages. Sometimes there's 5. But what happens is on that residential application, at the very top, you'll see borrower and co-borrower, but you don't know who's supposed to sign. Here's a hack for you guys. Go to the last page. On the last page, at the very top, it'll give the person's name who's supposed to sign. If there's 2 people that's supposed to sign and you only see one on the 1003 of the Uniform Residential Application, only that one person signs. That's it. Okay. So hopefully that helps you guys. Okay. So with the loan signing, I always tell people this, Clyde. My first experience was with Notary Go because I always push Notary Go, right? People hate Notary Go. I love them because they give you work galore. They don't care if you're new, who cares? But my first loan signing, I had closing proceeds that I had to take back. It was over $26,000. It's a cashier's check, Clyde. Yes. And I messed up. I messed up. Yes, I messed up. I missed the signatures. I missed the initials, but they got the check. So I was happy. I was happy. But I would tell you, Notary Go is now my go-to. Like they call me now, right? And I think that people need to understand, even though you mess up, it's not the end of the world. Right. I think that if you have the ability to communicate that, hey, I think I missed something. Can you check for me? Oh, yes, Ty, you did. Okay, cool. I'm going to go stop everything right now. I'm going to take care of it for you and ship it back on my dime if I need to. Mm-hmm. So that's very, very good. Very, very good. Okay, I think Shayla, huh? What'd you say, Clyde?
Experience was Notary Go as well.
Was it really? See?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was the only place that I could get work.
Yes. And a lot of people think that, oh, I'm going to come into this business. I'm going to go straight direct. How you going to go direct if they don't know who you are? Mm-mm. Like if people say, oh, remove the signing companies. No, you need the signing companies. That's how you get started. And you can actually make really good money with signing companies if you get ones that give you consistent business.
Right. So I think one of the big things that people that I continue to see, at least when I'm in forums, is this is a business, and that it's like any other business. You have to grow it, and it's going to take time. And with that time, you continue to prove your worth And as a result, your value continues to increase. And so, it's just not going to happen overnight. Although I will say that from a business perspective, if you think about most new businesses take 3 to 5 years.
Yes.
All right. So look at this. I mean, within 6 months, I had a real business with profit growing, so it can be extremely profitable in that regard.
Yes. So you guys have been engaging. First, I appreciate you so much for showing up on a Sunday. Blessings to every single one of you. Thank you so much. Again, I am happy to have Clyde here on the show, the amazing creator of the Integrity Journal. We will be giving you guys some giveaways at the top of the hour. So we have about 30 more minutes. I try to keep the show to an hour so we can all get back to our Sundays and enjoy it. So looks like we have a question. How are they paying? Miss Deborah, how are you? She says, question, how are they paying? How are they on paying? Notary Go. Oh, you want to answer that, Clyde?
Good.
Yes, they pay weekly. Yes, Notary Go pays weekly. This is what I would tell you what their pay structure is. They start from Tuesday and it goes to that Monday. You get paid that Friday of that week. Okay. So whatever work you do from Tuesday to that following Monday, that will go on that check on that Friday. Okay. And the person at Notary Go, the accounting lady, she's dope. So if y'all ever have any issues, just let me know. I know I got you. Okay. Awesome. All right. So we talked about the Integrity Journal. We jumped into loan signing, right? Let's go into remote online notarization. Let's talk a little bit about it. In New Jersey, I don't get any business. When I try to push it, they're like, what is that? Why do I got to give you my social security number? Why I have to put my, all this other security things that I can understand people are afraid of. So can you talk a little bit about Ron and how you got into it?
Yeah. So as a result of the pandemic, Missouri, I don't know if the timing was one of those things where it just happened perfectly with the pandemic, or if this was part of the roadmap of the Secretary of State. But Missouri revamped their notary statutes, and I mean totally from top to bottom. And they added into that the addition of Ron. And then they did a temporary thing during the pandemic. My first flicker of how to think about Ron happened at that time when I got contacted by a gentleman who does financial planning and wanted to know if I could conduct a Ron signing for him because he had some clients who did not want to come in or leave their home, but they needed to get these papers signed and they had to have a notary. So that was my first hint that maybe the customer for Ron, while you could think of as, when we talk about specialty notary work or general notary work, I always think of that as more of a consumer-based business, right? So I'm out there, I've got my sign up, people come to me and they need a notary. That's how I think it's consumer-based. But I think Ron, at least right now, is probably more what we refer to as B2B. So I'm a business, and there are other businesses that have this need. Financial planners, attorney groups who also have these needs is what I'm finding. So while they can invest in having their internal notaries do this, there's also a group of them who don't want to get into Ron, who want to deal with any of the overhead for it. And so I'm available in those situations as an overflow for them. So now I'm specifically targeting groups who are attorneys who do adoption work and surrogacy. One, I love that work. It's joyous all the way around. And two, a lot of times the participants in that transaction are not all local. So Ron becomes a really good thing for that whole process. So The other thing I'm learning is if you can think about other businesses that are virtual, they are already in step with the idea of doing things virtually, right? So they're not as concerned with some of those things, or at least they have a better understanding. And I'm looking for those people now who need notaries. And so there are virtual schools that have developed. Those schools have to report to state agencies with respect to transcripts and diplomas. Those all have to be certified by them, but then notary needs to be there to certify the person doing the certification. So thinking about it from, I refer to this more as that value chain. Where can I become a participant in that chain that may be different than how I think about the world? It's not about just hanging the shingle and waiting for it to come. The RON world, I believe, is really about more direct marketing to places that are going to have a value for that service.
That makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. Because this is my thing. Like I said, with New Jersey, I networked with this lady, and I think she was a paralegal at an attorney's office. And she literally said she's swamped. Like, she's busy all the time. And I think you have to find that particular audience that's going to bring you that consistent business. And I'm always hearing that attorney offices are huge for remote online notarizations.
Yes.
Yeah.
And again, this comes back to that whole value thing then of, if you're growing your business and you can work out a process that it makes it seamless for them, so you're actually removing overhead for them, that's the real win.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that with remote online notarizations, one of the biggest fears that I've come across is people don't trust it. They don't know how to get past that fear to know that, okay, I'm not going to steal your information. I actually am a not government official, but I'm commissioned. I'm a notary, right? I am, right? So I'm not going to steal your information. So how do you get over that stigma of saying that I'm here to help you, not to hurt you?
So the way I handle my RON appointments is they've been provided with information during the scheduling about the information that they're going to need to provide. And I don't go into a lot of detail other than they're going to need these pieces of information. And then what happens is I do not let them go through KBA and the identity verification alone. I actually call them. I have screen printouts of everything that they're going to go through. And I literally walk them through it and I answer their questions. And they also know that I do not have access to, nor do I see anything that they're doing. It helps to alleviate some of that uncertainty in their mind.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Okay. So we have some questions, Clyde. And I'm gonna tell you guys, I'm not a big remote online notarization person. So I'm not gonna be your go-to person for it. But I have a lot of people, so I'm gonna plug real quick. So I have a lot of people coming up to talk about remote online notarizations. One of them being Taya. I don't know if you guys know her from the Clubhouse. She is from Notarize. So she will be on the Abnormal Notary show at the end of the month. So make sure you're plugged in. And then Sunita Leek, who is the wedding officiant and also does loan signing in attorney states. She will be on the Abnormal Notary show next Sunday. So get tapped in if you're not tapped in. And make sure you go pick up Clyde's journal. You will not be disappointed. All right, so let's get some, Let's try this again. Let's get some questions. All right. So the first question is from Be Nice. How are you marketing to that audience?
I am doing calls, and I'm also reaching out with some initial emails, but mostly I'm trying to network based on groups that I'm already working with. Do they know of somebody else who is looking for or may need that kind of service? And that is the biggest way to sort of get that foot in the door into those next offices.
Okay, so now what if someone is afraid to pick up the phone? Could they send out like a brochure or a flyer or a business card? Would that work?
You can. I think that it is more easily to be dismissed, that type of information. Whereas the phone call, is, I'm calling them, I explain that I'm a notary, and I'm doing remote online notary work. I've been doing it for a variety of attorneys and estate planners. And do they do that type of work or have a need for that? I'd love to spend just a couple minutes with whoever does that hiring.
So this is one thing I would tell everybody. Majority of what you do in this business is going to be related to marketing, period. There's not going to be a single person that's going to know you unless you don't put yourself out there. Mm-hmm. And I think that's going to be the biggest fear that most of us, especially me, had to get over, right? I'm a little abnormal. I do things and I do things awkwardly or whatever, but it has helped me in my business and I've done very, very well by the grace of God. But I think it's going to be you getting past that fear, changing your mindset and getting out there. Natasha, she's like, you are a public official. Yes, I know. I'm a bit of a weirdo. I know. All right. Next question. And there were some questions about Notary Go. So I see you, Queens. I'm gonna get back to you. Pamela, I see you. Let's just finish up the round real quick and I'll circle back to that. The next question is from Tracy. What's up, Queen? How do you choose which RON platform to use? Good question. I have some opinions on that one because I did a little bit of research, but I'm gonna tag you in first, Clyde.
Oh, okay. So for me, they fall into, I put them into two big camps. I think that there's people who divide them into three camps maybe. But I look at them as those that I'm going to go work for as an employee type of base, or those that are set up more for just loan closings like Pavaso. And then there are those where I'm bringing my customers to the RON platform. Because of the way I think of my business, I'm either being hired by somebody or I'm doing it myself. That's how I divide the RON platforms. So I wanted to bring my own customers, so I looked at those platforms which were approved by the state of Missouri. I believe all those states that have RON, the Secretary of State's office has identified the platforms that are approved for their state, and that's where you can typically find those. So that's how I sort of did that initial thing. And then the next thing I did was to look at costs. At the end of the day,
yes.
There are some out there that have very complex pricing models. And there are some that are extremely simple and straightforward. And then there's everybody in between. So of those that were approved that I could bring my own clients to, I literally started to lay out what would it cost for me to do a notarization with, one document, two signers.
Okay. So this is my thing. So when I was doing the researching for remote online notarizations, I changed our background, Clyde. I'm kind of,
it's nice.
My mind's always,
It's funny.
I'm trying to do so many things different as I evolve with this. You know what I mean? Okay. So with the different classes you said, right? So I know that with One Notary US and I believe Notarize, the clients come to the notaries. Mm-hmm. So basically the notaries are basically, I call it like a virtual call center, if you will, right? So the customers come to you and then Notarize sends the customers to you, right? You sit, customers come to you versus a SignX, right? Or a Doc Verify. Those are platforms that you bring clients into. They don't bring clients to you, okay? So hopefully that makes sense. When I was doing my research, Doc Verify is crazy expensive. Oh, yeah. With Signex, I use their software is a little bit outdated, but they're evolving. Their customer service is really, really good. They have a lot of training programs. There's one fee, I think it's $250, I believe. And then Doc Verify has a lot of stuff. Now, with remote online notarizations, I'm going to tag you in, Clyde. There's a such thing as digital certificate and an e-notary seal. Can you explain to people what the two are and why it's required to have both?
So I'll go with the easy one first. That's the e-seal. So think of it as your stamp being in electronic format. So that's going to be your e-seal that's going to go onto your documents, along with your electronic signature. The e-certificate is a piece of technology that gets embedded with the PDF file that's assigned to you, so that when you do that notarization and you place your signature and seal on the document, it will identify that certificate. And then when you have completed the notarization, it actually locks, your document will be locked by the platform. And then that certificate will be there showing the authenticity of it. So that is sort of its, in my layman's terms, that is their way of saying this is now a complete and authenticated document.
Yes.
Keep in mind that with Ron, the original document now is a digital document.
Yes. Now, in New Jersey, we have to hold that digital copy, that video, for 10 years.
Yes.
So we have to store it away somewhere for 10 years. If for whatever reason we get audited, whatever, it has to be stored. So I would say, as a remote online notary, make sure you know your statutes and your laws specifically for remote online notarizations, because I would tell you, in New Jersey, there's still a temporary enactment. They have not put it full blown and said this is what it is, because New Jersey is its own universe. I'm just saying. They're in their own universe, but whatever. Now, with the digital certificate and with the e-seal, when I signed up to SignX, I was able to get my my e-seal from the National Notary for $15. For $15. Even though on their website it says, oh, it doesn't work with these particular platforms, they do.
Yeah,
okay,
they do.
So so you can buy your e-seal from the NNA for $15. If you went on to SignX, they give you the digital certificate for free. You don't have to pay for it. Okay. Right. But like I said, their software is a little bit outdated, but it grows on you.
Yeah. So I bought my certificate from IdenTrust, which is kind of the main one.
The main one. Yep.
But I will tell you that because I changed platforms that I was going to use a couple of times. And the one that I ended up with, and keep in mind, I have no vested interest in the platform whatsoever, but I do it only just because I want to see it to continue to grow, and to be a stable platform out there, and that is called Live Notary. And this is their plug. Literally, the cost is $10 a month, $10 for each appointment. And it doesn't matter how many documents you have. It doesn't matter how long you're on. It doesn't matter how many signers or how many seals you place. It's still a straight $10 for that one appointment.
LiveNotary.com, or what's the address?
Yes, LiveNotary.com. They pay for your e-seal and your certificate. You don't buy anything. Your $10 a month subscription cost is for them to be able to pay for the archiving of all the video and the journal for the period of 10 years that they need to hold it for. So the most straightforward pricing that I have found.
That's accurate to say what I just popped on the screen? Okay, yes. Perfect. Okay, so you guys check them out. I'm gonna tell you now, I'm not an affiliate of SignX, so I'm just putting stuff out there for you guys. And check out Live Notary from what Clyde stated. Now there's some questions in regards, are there different types of certificates? No, there's only one type of digital certificate, right?
Yeah. As far as I know.
Okay. And then, so we named a couple of places, Olivia, the NNA. No, the NNA has digital certificates, right? And they have the e-sales. Yeah, but you mentioned, I forgot what the company you mentioned, Clyde, that you got yours from.
IdenTrust.
IdenTrust.
Right.
Yep. So IdenTrust. Okay. We have about 10 more minutes of the show. I'm gonna try to get some more questions in real quickly. But I want to button up, or not button up, I don't want to use that word. I want to go back to the to the question of Notary Go. Let me just see if I can find it real quickly. Here we go. And I think this is from Missouri. So this is Olivia again. I'm a new notary in Missouri, and I have been struggling with understanding who I can sign up with based on Missouri approved notary software vendors list. Is Notary Go considered a software vendor? I don't. Go for it.
Yeah, no. As far as a RON platform, Notary Go is not. They're a signing service. And as far as if you're interested in RON, the Secretary of State's office, if you go to that website, there's a tab for electronic notary. Just click on that and it will list off for you a place where it will list all of the approved platforms for doing RON.
Perfect. And then for Notary Go, I don't know if they're vendor software or not, but I know they're across the entire country. So I don't think you should have a problem. Okay. So let me get to the next question. Would you recommend back? I'm sorry. I'm still looking.
Okay.
Sorry. Matt said, though the notary may have integrity, the platform may not necessarily. Take a look at some of the privacy policies of RON platforms. Yes. Yes. And there's a company called MERS, or MERS. I think they supersede everybody in regards to compliance. I got to look them up. I think MERS. I have to look them up. But they're over the remote online notarization. I think they are. Yeah. If I was doing my research right. Okay. I see y'all. Here's a question for the Integrity Journal, Clyde. Is the journal California compliant?
So as far as I know, it is not compliant for California. But I am in the process of working on a second journal. And this second journal should be compliant for all 50 states. So that would make it a compliant for California.
Let's go, Clyde.
Well, the problem is that California has, you know, and I appreciate Matt's help. He helped previously, but outlining what are the specifics that California needs, and they have some real, they have requirements that make it a challenge to create.
Nicely put, Clyde. Nicely put. Okay, I've heard a lot of things about California and their laws and all kinds of things. So I've heard they're a little bit challenging to get into. Even when I was doing real estate, they're really iffy over there. Okay, let's see. Next question: would you recommend a back RON if you're just using it to bring your own customers? Vanessa, what do you mean when you say back RON? If you can clarify that for me. Nikita, notaries are public officers of the state where they're commissioned. Yes. Tracy, Queen, welcome. As a newbie, cost is a factor. Absolutely. I'm gonna tell you now, with Ron, you're going to be paying some upfront costs, but with your little plug with livenotary.com, that may be an option, you guys. So check them out. Matt, you're saying Notary Farm. Is Notary? Can you talk on that, Clyde? Who's Notary Farm?
That's I love the I'm going to say this is Matt's humor in referring to notaries in a call center.
Of course. I sense Matt had like a cool sense of humor. I like it. All right, cool. Olivia, I think we answered this question. Yes, we answered that question. Ms. Deborah, yes, I signed up with them quick and easy. All right, so we have one more question here. D. Tureau, regarding taxes, okay, for the self-employment tax deduction, do you count the number of lines in your journal from that loan sign or the number of times you put your stamp? Good question. You want to take that one, Clyde?
So mine is really simple in that what I do is I just let the accountant know then, because it's about, for me, the fee that was charged. So for Missouri, every time I would have charged the $5 fee within the loan signing would be the part that would go as part of that to the accountant to say this was notarial work. So, and I think that comes down to how your state or how you look at things. So for me, I'm really pretty simple. So I say it's, I charge the notary fee per document, although I think the state allows us to do that per signature.
Okay. Yeah, in New Jersey it's per signature. So per signature and stamp is one. Like some states you can do a signature and a stamp and that's two, right?
Yeah.
New Jersey, because we cheat, 1 and 1, you only get one, right? Good question, D. Terrell. All right, next question. Sinex is recommended in Ohio. Awesome. How about Notarize? So Notarize they're huge. They actually have, I think they have a live event happening next month. If you're in my Notary Companion Link Up Facebook group, I'm going to be dropping the link there so you can guys sign up. So if you don't know about my Facebook group, come on in. We have a lot of stuff going. But Notarize is huge. I have Ty coming from Notarize to talk about specifically remote online notarizations. That will be March 28th. So Melissa, plug back in. I think you're going to learn a lot on that one.
And
right.
That'll be an important one because she does a great job of identifying. There are, I think, 3 or 4 different categories when it's not just as simple as what I've mentioned it to be. There are ways that they can hybrid and you actually start bringing your own clients. And so anyway, that will be a good one too. If you're interested in Ron and understanding that platform, that'll be a good one.
Thanks, Clyde. I appreciate it. Yeah, I think Ty is awesome. Her information is ridiculous. How much she has, ridiculous. Matt with the smiley face. Thank you. Nicole said, yes, California is very strict. Okay. Vanessa, got you. Backup. So basically, her question is, so should you have multiple Ron platforms or should you only stick to one? What's your opinion on that?
So I have the one that I use for bringing my own clients. And then I'm also certified on Pavaso. And I think that's the only one for loan signing that I've in talking with the signing companies, at least right now, it's just not a lot of traffic into that space. And so I'm there, just not getting any work.
Yeah. So I think it's going to be important to your point, Clyde. I think it's going to be important to have maybe multiple. Notarize and One.Notary US, OneNotary.us. They both have that client platforms where they come to you. So this could be a couple of platforms that you can use. And then once you get going, you can go onto your own platform and bring customers to you. So now you have 3 sources of income. Just saying. All right, so Christian says, if you're in Missouri, here's the link. So Christian, I'm not sure what link you're providing, but if you know, Clyde?
No, don't know which one that is.
Okay. We're almost done. We have 2 minutes. We're at the top of the hour. Deanne, that's how I figure mine per stamp in Michigan. I entered into the QB as a part of my closing process. Nice. Matt, you know I'm gonna have to have you on the show, man. So you might as well just, Clyde and Ty, do you also do IPIN in addition to Ron? Nice question. You want to talk about IPIN?
Yeah, I can a little bit. It's the in-person portion of this. So I always think of it as sort of a hybrid. I have a digital document, but we are literally in person and we are signing digitally. So I've done those. It's not something that I typically market myself. It's more about loan closings in that regard for me.
Okay. Yeah, and I'm gonna tell you now, the only IPIN I've done has been with Amrock because they're hybrid with the whole digital. But it's not a lot of people that are in that space that I've seen. Yeah. So if anybody has anything on the IPIN, speak up if you do. We're at the top of the hour. We have a couple of more, and then we're going to get out of here, you guys. What does it say? Christian, Missouri software vendors.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So just go to the Secretary of State's office.
Okay. Good notary. Amrock. Ron is launching before April. Really? Interesting. Very interesting. Wow. Tracy, Inform Michelle, as always, thank you both for your time this Sunday morning. You're very welcome, Queen. And thanks for a great show. Thank you, Matt, so much. So everybody, thank you so much for joining. We are at the top of the hour. Clyde, thank you so much. Blessings to you.
Well,
And I know that your next journal coming out is going to be amazing. I'm going to buy that one too.
cool.
So we're going to do a quick giveaway. We're going to get out of here. So Clyde, did you have something?
Yes. What I have is, of course, the Integrity Notary Journal. So.
All right. So how many are we giving away? We're giving away. How many are we doing?
I think we said 3.
So we're going to do 3. Okay. So that's what we're going to do. If y'all know the rules, y'all DM me on my DM. Whoever gets to me first, that's who's going to get the books. And that's it. As I always do, I'm going to close. I'm going to give it to you, Clyde, to give your information and your feedback and some motivation. As always, you guys, as I always tell you, do not go chase money, create money, follow your dreams, get out of your headspace, and know that everything that you want to accomplish is all up to you. Clyde, what do you have for them?
Excellent. Thank you. So it's been a pleasure. I really enjoyed this, Ty. Thank you for the invite. You can find me and online at Mobile Notary KC. So Mobile Notary KC is my website. I'm Clyde at mobilenotarykc.com if you want to email me. And I have Facebook page, Instagram page, and LinkedIn. So I'm out there, easy search. My biggest thing is to say, hey, we have all been there when we are starting out, and know that you're going through training, you're going to make mistakes, but you just have to take that step forward. And you know what? At the end of the day, it's going to be okay.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Clyde. God bless you. Much success.
Sure.
Y'all have an amazing Sunday. We out.
Thanks.
Peace. Thank you.